Please welcome Kevan to the stage.
Hey, everybody. Sorry, I get really shaky with my voice, so this is kind of emotional for me. You'll understand. In March of 23, I had what my wife calls a fatal heart attack. It didn't kill me. I had 100% occluded LAD called a widowmaker. Doctors don't know why I lived. It's supposedly not survivable, but I did. Here I am. So I was dealing with that, heart failure, and the consequences of this extreme heart attack. And the cardiologist looked at me and says, you know, you got shake in your hand. You really need to see a neurologist about that. And I knew I'd had it. I just thought it's an old man thing, you know, old guy shake, and that's all I got. But there were other things going on. I had been terminated from my job right before COVID and didn't understand why, but I was dealing with issues that I wasn't telling people about, largely cognitive. I couldn't remember. I'd sit in a meeting, and as soon as the meeting was over, I couldn't remember what we talked about. I couldn't remember who was doing what, and I was in charge. You know, I'm supposed to be the boss, and I'm not doing a good job. And I think they saw that, but, you know, I was not forthcoming. I was not coping with it. So it took the heart attack to say, yeah, I guess I got to take this on too. Some of the things I was dealing with was obviously the cognitive. In fact, I felt like I was disappearing. And usually cognitive decline doesn't happen early in a Parkinson's diagnosis, but in my case, it was one of the earlier symptoms. I'd been having nightmares. I didn't notice this, but the doc did, that when I walked, my arm just hung, didn't swing. So I went to the neurologist, and they did a bunch of tests in the office. It's their diagnostic tests, mostly for motor skills. Parkinson's is caused by loss of dopamine. Part of your brain that produces dopamine, those cells die. So the motor skill test was they had me do this, had me do this, had me do this, and they look at left and right. So in my case, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, and this hand was more like this. That's as fast as I can go. I had no idea that it was like that until they did that. So that's a pretty big indicator. They had me walk, you know, and I'm sitting there walking like this, you know, and they had me turn, and I stopped to turn, and I have to stop. I can't turn, you know, and that's a classic cognitive or Parkinson's thing. They did a nuclear test, and a nuclear test, you swallow some nuclear medicine. That nuclear medicine absorbs into the brain where the dopamine cells are supposed to be. In my case, the left side of my brain was about 2.8 standard deviations off of normal. So we saw that bell curve the other day. That's way out on the tail end of the bell curve. I did not have a lot of dopamine-producing cells in the left side of my brain, which affects the right side of my body. The right side of the brain was about 1.5. So there's a differential. I had other symptoms. Drooling, swallowing. My wife used to say, speak up, I can't hear you. And I'd say, something's wrong with your hearing. You know, would you go get your hearing checked? And the speech therapist assured me that it's you, it's not her. So that was some of the therapy I did. I did occupational therapy. I started yoga. I really felt like I was led to do yoga. That, you know, Parkinson's also has issues with balance. I was doing cardio because of the heart attack. But I kind of just jumped in. It's like, what am I going to do about this? You know, Parkinson's is not curable. The disease management is managing symptoms. So one of the pills you get is artificial dopamine, which doesn't last very long. It doesn't do a really good job, but it's what they have. And so, you know, I just got to the point with a heart attack, and man, I just felt like crap, you know. And it's like, why me, you know? Isn't a heart attack enough? I was advised to go see a woman who's an energy worker. This lady, the veil is very thin with her. She's an amazing person. And she says, you need to explore Dr. Joe. And she had been to some of his events. That was in December of that year. So I'd been diagnosed with Parkinson's for 2 months, even though I'd had it for quite a while. And, you know, I'm just the kind of guy that I'm going to take this on. You know, I'm not just going to sit back and feel sorry for myself. What can I do about this, you know? So I had seen Dr. Joe's work, What the Bleep. I don't know if you've seen that. It's pretty cool stuff. I jumped in. I watched the Rewired series. I read all the books. I started meditating. I was meditating 3 times a day, never missed. Blessing of the Energy Center every day. It's like, I'm going to take this on. That's not my future. I decided I need to go to an event. Told my brother, I said, I'm going. You want to go with me? He said, whether you're going or not, I'm going. So we went to the Denver event last year, and I was selected as a healee. Also at the Denver event, I thought, well, you know, they're doing research. Why not? You know, why can't I do my part and help? So I was a part of the PAIR study, and I got assigned to be with a guy, a beautiful man, 27, 28-year-old Sam from the UK. And Sam and I were just like that through the whole event. I felt sorry for him because when I went to the event, I also have chronic pain, arthritis, back pain, and I was in so much pain. I had a cane. I could barely get around. I spilled a cup of flavored water on the carpet, and I felt so bad for the guys to have to clean it up. I was just not in a good shape. 2 days into the event, I got up that morning. I'm leaving the cane in the room. The pain was gone, just gone. My wife loves it when I say that. It was just gone. Then I was a healee. The healing experience was otherworldly. Man, I had so much energy. Man, I was just going, you know. You probably heard me. I was one of the screamers. There was a guy across the aisle from me. He also had Parkinson's. And by the time that third healing came, it's like, yeah, that is so powerful. I mean, it was just, oh. And I walked over to Todd across the hall from me, and I hugged him, and I said, this is going to work.
Can I just interrupt here for 1 second?
Sure.
Would you agree that a feeling is the end product of an experience? He was having an experience, was he not? He was having an immaterial, intangible experience, and somehow the field that was being created for his body touched his body. And he felt it. He had the experience, right? Once you have the experience, you know that something big just happened. You know, touching, getting closer to source. You get it?
Thanks. So Sam, you know, he says, man, I witnessed a transformation. I witnessed your healing. So when the event was over, I went home, told my wife, the pain's gone. I feel so much better. One of the things I noticed was I'd always had this feeling in my heart. I had PTSD, and I didn't know this feeling was there until it was gone. I want to say that there was anger in here, and what we have now is flowers.
Now, does he look like the type of guy that would be on the ground yelling for attention? Does he look like he's some spiritual Wu-Wei Wells in space kind of guy? You think he's that guy? No, it was real for him. I mean, he was very vocal. I'm telling you, it's big. I'm telling you, it's big.
Yep. Yeah. Sam and I are still very good friends from the pair study. I went to my pain doc, said, I'm done. I don't need this anymore. He said, what are you doing? Oh, I'm meditating. So, and he's a great guy. I've told him about Dr. Joe. I want him to come. I want him to read the books. And he's pretty open. But I noticed over time, the Parkinson symptoms went away. So my motivation initially was the cognitive decline. I felt myself disappearing, and I didn't want that. And I knew I had to do something. I'm back.
Now, don't you think it's a good idea that my staff finds the people in Denver that signed the paper, that did the healing, that changed this man's life? Don't you think we should get together and celebrate that? Don't you think he should tell them how grateful he is for them changing his life so they can feel the emotion of what it's like to have that experience of healing another person? Is he in a new body? Came back to a new body. Is he in a whole new environment, a whole new life? Whole new life. Is he in a whole new future than he was going for? He's in a whole new time. He could not get the upgrade from inside the virtual reality experience. He had to interact with the frequency, the code. And they rewrote the code, and his body came back upgraded. How many people understand?
So I went back to my energy person about a month after, and she ran her analysis again. You would not believe the difference in my energy profile from before to after. They call it biofield, our energy centers, were initially about 20%, 100%, every one of them.
Hey, no victim here. No victim here. He said, I got to do something about this. He said, I got to figure this out. He didn't say, oh, poor me, I got a diagnosis. I'm going to live in prison the rest of my life. He said, I got to find the key. I got to find the way out. 3 times a day. He could have said, my brain isn't working, I'm in too much pain, I had a heart attack, I got to come on, 1,000 excuses. Showed up every day for himself. Of course he's going to run into something big. That's his destiny. That's his destiny. He didn't wavered off course. He didn't let his body determine his future. He didn't say he doesn't feel like it, he's too tired, I got too many places to go, my past is this, I have PTSD, and there was no excuse for him. When you choose yourself like that, your belief in yourself is earned. You feel like you're worthy of whatever life that's coming towards you. He had a lot of energy moved through his body. That gamma frequency is just a great renewer of all kinds of upper motor neuron conditions, all kinds of neurological conditions. We see it all the time. Inflammation and neurological conditions. He's in a whole new life. He's in a whole new life. People changed his life, and he helped themselves. And we found out in our research that God helps those who help themselves. We found that out, that people who are in the river of change, who are actually in the river, and they're changing, those people get the wind at their back, pushes them right across the river. They're headed in that direction already. They're endorsing their efforts. They're giving them love. They're giving them energy. The body's using it in that way. They're open to it. How many people understand?
So the last thing is I went to my neurologist just a couple of months ago as a checkup. I'd stopped taking my meds months ago, didn't need them. So they have the same motor skill testing, both hands, this, walk, you know. I still have tremors, but it's nothing compared to all the stuff that was going on. They said, "What are you doing?" "I'm meditating." So,
Thank you, brother. Hey, isn't that just unbelievable? We had this lady in Cancun. She had Parkinson's, and she never even heard of me. She got my book from Amazon, and she didn't order it. And she left it on the coffee table for like 3 months. And then she just started thumbing through the book, and she saw the brain scans on Parkinson's. She came to Cancun, of course. What did she come with? The intention to heal her Parkinson's. I read the book twice. I did the method. I'm going to heal this thing. I saw it. It's possible. So every single person leaves a footprint in consciousness, and the collective begins to evolve their consciousness because they're aware of other possibilities.